At our family reunion, my brother wrapped his arm around my wife, smiled like he'd won something, and thanked her for keeping their secret. I swear my vision went white. I didn't say a word, didn't move, didn't breathe. I just stared at them, and in that moment, every instinct in my body screamed that something was horribly violently wrong. Hey Reddit, buckle up, because I never thought a simple reunion would turn into the day my entire marriage, my family and my sanity got flipped upside down. I 33M and my wife 31F had been together for almost 8 years, married for 4, and until that reunion, I believed we were solid. Not perfect but solid. Her name is Lauren, and she has always been the calm one, the voice of reason, the one who keeps everything from falling apart. My brother, on the other hand, Tyler 35 was the opposite of calm. Loud, impulsive, always in the middle of some storm he created. Growing up he was the troublemaker, the golden child, and the self-proclaimed life of the party. Somehow all three at the same time. My parents excused everything he did because that's just Tyler, while I was the responsible one, the dependable one, the one who cleaned up every mess he left behind. And somehow despite our differences Tyler and I got along well enough. We weren't best friends but we weren't enemies, or at least I thought so. The family reunion was supposed to be routine, same location every year, our aunt's big cabin-style house by the lake, the spot where we all pretended to be one big happy family. Lauren didn't love going but she always came to support me. This year felt different though. She was quieter on the drive, more tense. When I asked if she was okay she just said, "Yeah, just tired," with that tight smile she used when she didn't want to be questioned. I didn't think much of it. I should have. The moment we walked in, the usual chaos hit. Kids running around, relatives shouting greetings, my mom rushing over to hug Tyler before even glancing in my direction. Typical. Lauren drifted off to talk to my cousins. She always got along with them, and I ended up talking with the uncles about sports and work and whatever else men pretend to care about to avoid feelings. 30 minutes in, Tyler made his big entrance. He always waited for the crowd to be full before showing up, because he loved attention more than oxygen. He strolled in wearing sunglasses indoors, as if he were shielding himself from the blinding light of his own ego. Everyone cheered, of course. He did his usual rounds, hugging, fist bumps, loud jokes. When he finally walked over to me, I braced myself for some stupid comment. Instead he glanced around, lowered his voice and said, "Where's Lauren?" It wasn't the question, it was the tone. Too eager, too familiar, too something. "Talking to our cousins," I said slowly. Without another word he walked past me straight toward her. Not toward the cousins, toward her. And she froze when she saw him. Not a normal freeze, not a polite smile freeze, a freeze like someone had paused her mid-sentence. My stomach tightened. I watched them from across the room, Lauren stiff, Tyler leaning in too close, talking in that low voice he used when he was either flirting or plotting. Neither option made sense. After a moment, Lauren stepped back, forced a smile and walked away quickly. She went straight outside to the porch, alone. I followed a few minutes later pretending I was just getting air. She was staring at the lake, arms crossed, breathing uneven. "Everything okay?" I asked. She forced another smile. "Yeah, just needed some fresh air." "What did Tyler say?" Her eyes flicked away for half a second too long. "Nothing," she said, "just the usual." My gut twisted. Lauren wasn't a good liar, and she was lying. I didn't push it. Maybe I should have. We went back inside, and things seemed normal again. People were eating, laughing, spilling drinks, arguing about politics. Standard family chaos. But then dessert came, and with dessert came the moment that made my heart stop. The moment that blew the entire reunion to hell. We were all gathered around the table when Tyler stood up to give some dramatic family toast, as he did every year. Everyone groaned, but he insisted. He clinked his glass, waited for silence, and flashed his trademark grin. "This year," he said, "I want to give a special thank you to someone who helped me through a tough time." People murmured. My mom gasped dramatically. My dad looked annoyed that he didn't know the story first, and then Tyler turned, looked directly at Lauren, lifted his glass, and said the words that made the room tilt on its axis. "Thanks for keeping our secret. I owe you." The table dropped into a pit of silence. My brain didn't even process the words at first, just the tone he said them in. Familiar, intimate, too intimate. Lauren's face drained of color. She didn't smile, didn't raise her glass, didn't even breathe, and something cold and electric shot through my spine. I looked at her, she looked at him. And then she looked at me with this expression: fear, guilt, panic, all fighting at once. My chest tightened so fast I thought I might actually pass out. "What secret?" I asked, but my voice wasn't my voice. It was something lower, something dangerous. Tyler didn't answer directly. He just smirked, and clapped Lauren on the shoulder like they were old friends sharing an inside joke. "Relax bro," he said. "It's nothing bad, just something she helped me with." But she wasn't laughing, and I wasn't relaxing. "What secret?" I repeated, this time louder. People were shifting uncomfortably now. My mom whispered something to my aunt. My cousins were leaning in, sensing drama. Lauren swallowed hard and whispered, "We should talk later." That was the absolute worst answer she could have given. My heart dropped. My hands went numb. My ears rang. "Talk later?" I said. "Why later? Why not now?" Tyler lifted his hands in mock innocence. Dude, chill, she said later. His tone was light, too light, like he liked this. Like he enjoyed watching me unravel. Something inside me cracked. Tell me, I said to Lauren, or he does. Lauren's eyes filled with tears instantly. Please, she whispered. Not here. That was it. That was all it took. The ground beneath me split open. My mind flooded with every nightmare scenario possible. Every insecurity, every fear, every late night moment where she said she was running errands, or meeting a friend, or busy with work. Every time Tyler showed up out of nowhere and made some comment about how lucky I was to have her. Every look they shared. Every moment that didn't make sense suddenly did. My chest tightened until it hurt to breathe. Tyler, I said, voice shaking with something between fury and desperation. What secret? He smiled. Actually smiled. If she didn't tell you, he said slowly. It's not my place. My vision blurred. I gripped the table so hard my knuckles went white. Lauren stepped toward me, tears streaming now. Please, she whispered. Not like this. But it was too late. The world had already cracked open, and I wasn't climbing back out without the truth. Not this time. Not ever again. The room stayed frozen after Lauren whispered, not like this. Like everyone at that table had been yanked into the same nightmare I was drowning in. I could feel 30 pairs of eyes bouncing between me, her and Tyler, waiting for the explosion they all sensed was coming. My heart was pounding so violently it felt like my ribs might crack. Lauren kept wiping at her tears like she was trying to erase the moment entirely, but all she was doing was confirming every fear that was clawing up my throat. I took a step toward Tyler, not aggressive, not loud, just deliberate. You're going to tell me what this secret is, I said. Or I swear to God. Or what? He cut in, smiling like this was a joke. You gonna hit me in front of mom and dad? He wanted this. He wanted a show. That was the only thing keeping me from snapping. I wasn't giving him what he wanted. I turned to Lauren. Tell me, I said, quieter this time, but the kind of quiet that shakes a room. She shook her head, choking on tears. We'll talk later please, I can explain, I promise. Just not here please. My mom suddenly stood up, desperate to regain control. All right, enough, she snapped. Everyone calm down. Tyler, whatever this is, stop teasing your brother. Lauren, if you have something to say you can say it privately. Let's not create drama. My mom loved pretending everything was fine. She'd patch a bullet hole with a smile if it meant saving face. But this wasn't her show to direct. Mom, I said, not looking away from Lauren, stay out of it. She gasped, offended that I'd spoken to her like that. But I didn't care. Everything in me was aimed at one thing. The truth. Tyler leaned back in his chair like this was the best entertainment he'd had all year. Man, you're so tense, he said. Calm down. It's nothing, really. But if it was nothing, if it was harmless, then why did Lauren look like she was about to collapse? My cousin whispered, what secret, under her breath. My aunt shushed her, eyes wide. Someone in the back muttered, holy shut, like they were at a live taping of a reality show. I didn't care about the audience. I didn't care about the embarrassment. All I cared about was the way Lauren was trembling and the way Tyler was grinning and the way everything suddenly made an awful kind of sense. I stepped closer to Lauren and lowered my voice, not harsh, not angry, just raw. Tell me the truth. She squeezed her eyes shut, and whispered, please don't make me do this here. Something inside me snapped, not anger but certainty. Certainty that whatever this was, it wasn't small. It wasn't harmless. It wasn't fixable with a single conversation. I had never been more sure of anything in my life. You owe me the truth, I said. Right now. She shook her head again, sobbing. You'll hate me, she choked out. The world tilted. The air seemed to vanish, and Tyler, my own brother, let out the softest, most self-satisfied laugh. That laugh nearly pushed me over the edge. Tyler, I said, turning to him, if you don't shut up right now, I swear. Relax, he said with a smirk. It's not romantic or anything. God, you're dramatic. That didn't calm me. It made everything worse. Because the way he said it, too confident, too rehearsed, didn't match the panic in Lauren's eyes at all. My dad finally spoke, voice stern. Tyler, enough. If you know something that's upsetting your brother, then say it or keep quiet. Tyler raised his hands. Look, the only reason this is awkward is because Lauren didn't want to tell him. I respected that. That's it. He looked at me with a fake innocent shrug. Don't shoot the messenger. Messenger of what? My skin crawled. The room felt too small, too hot, too suffocating. I turned back to Lauren, gently taking her wrist. Tell me, I said. Tell me what you did. She broke. Absolutely broke. Shoulders shaking, face in her hands, her whole body folding inward like she was collapsing in on herself. And through the sobs, she whispered, I promised Tyler I wouldn't tell you. The floor dropped out from under me. My ears rang again. My vision blurred at the edges. I let go of her wrist like her skin burned me. You promised Tyler, I repeated slowly, that you wouldn't tell me, something that involves both of you. She nodded. The room erupted in whispers. My mom looked horrified. My dad looked sick. Tyler looked proud. Dude, he said lightly, don't twist it. It's not what you think. Then what is it? I demanded. He hesitated for the first time. Just a flicker, but I saw it. And that tiny flicker told me everything I needed to know. Whatever this was, he didn't want to say it. Not because it was harmless, but because saying it out loud would blow up whatever twisted leverage he thought he had. "Lauren," I said again, voice cracking, despite everything I was trying to hold together, "did you cheat?" She shook her head violently. "No, never. I swear, I would never." Tyler nodded. "Yeah, not that." Calm down, but the panic didn't fade, because even if it wasn't cheating, it was something big enough that she hid it from me. Something big enough that Tyler thought he could tease me with it. Something big enough that she'd rather cry in front of 30 people than say it. I stepped back, looking at both of them like they were strangers. "What did you two hide from me?" Nobody answered. Nobody breathed. So I asked again, louder. "What did you two hide from me?" Lauren cried harder. Tyler rubbed the back of his neck, suddenly looking less confident. My dad stood halfway out of his chair as if ready to intervene. My mom whispered, "Oh God," under her breath. And then Tyler finally muttered, "It was nothing. I messed up, okay?" "Messed up how?" I demanded. He didn't answer. Lauren whispered, "He didn't want to tell you because he thought you'd never forgive him." Him, not her. The shift was subtle, but it hit like a punch. This wasn't about Lauren betraying me. This was about Tyler doing something. Something he didn't want me to know. Something Lauren protected him from. "Tyler," I said, stepping toward him now, "what did you do?" He swallowed. The first sign of fear I'd seen in him all day. "Dude, it was years ago. Years ago. Years." My blood ran cold. Lauren whispered, "Before we got married." My heart stopped. Completely. "Before we got married," I repeated. Lauren nodded, sobbing. Tyler's face was pale now. "It was stupid," he said. "We were drunk." She was upset. I was lonely. It didn't mean anything. The world stopped. Every sound disappeared. Every heartbeat in the room vanished. All I heard was that one sentence, replaying over and over like a scream. She was upset. I was lonely. And suddenly I knew. I didn't want to know. I didn't want to understand. But I did. They didn't have to say the words. My wife's expression. My brother's fear. The years of weird tension between them. The way she froze when he walked in. The secret. The promise. The shame. The guilt. The timeline. The silence. The tears. Everything clicked together like a grenade locking into place. My voice came out dead. "Did you two sleep together?" Lauren broke completely. Tyler looked away. And that silence, God, that silence, was the answer that destroyed my entire world. The silence after that unspoken admission wasn't quiet. It was violent. It was the kind of silence that rips through a room like a storm, the kind that makes everyone in it feel like they've stepped onto the wrong side of reality. My chest felt like someone had wrapped barbed wire around it and pulled. My head buzzed. My whole body went cold and hot at the same time. I stared at both of them, blinking slow, deliberate, at waiting for one of them to say something, anything that would undo what I already knew. But neither of them could even lift their eyes. Lauren was trembling so hard her shoulders shook with every breath. Tyler looked like a kid caught stealing, not a grown man who may have just detonated someone else's life. My voice didn't feel like mine when it finally scraped out. "Tell me," I said, barely more than a whisper but loud enough to slice the room open. "Tell me what happened." Lauren covered her face with both hands, sobbing now, the kind of sob that isn't dramatic, it's hopeless. Tyler rubbed his face and muttered, "It wasn't supposed to come out like this, man." "Then how?" I snapped, louder, sharper. "How exactly was it supposed to come out?" He didn't answer. My aunt covered her mouth in horror. My cousin whispered, "Holy shit," under her breath. My mom's face had gone completely white, like she was watching her perfect family crumble in front of her and couldn't do a damn thing to stop it. My dad tried to steady himself but his hands shook as he gripped the back of his chair. "Tyler," he said, his voice low and shaking, "tell your brother what you did." Tyler looked at my father, then at me, then down at the floor again. "It was years ago," he repeated, clinging to that phrase like it was some kind of life raft. I took a slow step forward. "Before the wedding?" I asked. He nodded once. My vision blurred again for a second, as if my brain refused to process the truth in real time. Lauren let out a sound that was half sob, half apology. "I was drunk," she cried. "I was so drunk I didn't even know what I was doing." "Stop," I said, holding up a hand. "Don't lie to make it better. Did you cheat on me?" She froze. Tyler froze. The entire room froze. I stepped closer, staring at her. "Did you cheat on me?" She shook her head at first, violently, as if she could shake reality off her body. Then she nodded. A tiny broken nod. My knees nearly gave out. I felt the entire reunion fade out of my perception. I didn't hear the whispers. I didn't hear the gasps. I didn't hear my aunt saying "oh my God" over and over. All I heard was the slow echoing replay of that nod. My wife. My wife who had promised me honesty, loyalty, a life together. My wife who held my hand at the altar like she was holding the only person she ever wanted. My wife who looked me in the eyes and said vows she must have known were built on a lie. My brother. My brother who grew up next to me. My brother who I defended. My brother who I helped through every failure he created for himself. My brother who I thought would never betray me this deeply because even he must have had limits. Apparently he didn't. Why? I finally managed to say. It wasn't even a shout. It was a choked question, cracked down the center. Lauren shook her head helplessly, hair sticking to her wet cheeks. "I don't know," she cried. "I was drunk. I was hurt. I was stupid. Tyler rubbed his face harder. We were both drunk, he muttered. It just happened. My laugh came out hollow, humorless, a sound I didn't even recognize. It just happened? I repeated. You tripped and fell into her? That how it works? Tyler glared, defensive. Don't talk like that. No, I snapped. I'll talk however the hell I want. You slept with my fiancé. My mother gasped like she'd been slapped. My dad closed his eyes like he was trying to erase the moment entirely. We didn't sleep together, Lauren choked out. That froze me. Hard. So what did you do? I demanded. She hesitated, eyes darting, breath hitching. Before she whispered, we kissed. My stomach twisted. She added quickly. It was only a kiss, just a kiss, never anything more. But her voice wavered on every word. Tyler jumped in, trying to spin it. Yeah man, just a kiss. It wasn't like, shut up, I snapped. Don't you dare speak for her. He looked away. Lauren, I said slowly, look at me. She lifted her tear-streaked face. Was it only a kiss? Her eyes flinched. That was the only answer I needed. Lauren, I said again, my voice dead and low. Did you do more than kiss? She didn't answer immediately. A long suffocating moment passed. Then she whispered, I don't remember everything. My vision pulsed. You don't remember? I was drunk, she cried. We both were. But I swear after the kiss I left. I left immediately. I told him it was a mistake. I told him it could never happen again. I looked at Tyler. Is that true? He shrugged, jaw tight. More or less. More or less. More or less. My entire body pulsed with heat. So you don't actually know how far it went, I said slowly. You don't know what happened between you two that night. She sobbed harder. I remember kissing him, just kissing, and then I left. I swear that's all I remember. Remember? I repeated. Not that's all that happened, but that's all I remember. She covered her mouth. Another awful silence swallowed the room. My mom whispered, oh my God, over and over. My dad looked ready to be sick. My grandmother clutched her chest. My aunt walked out of the room as if she couldn't handle the tension. And I stood there feeling like someone had hollowed out my entire chest with a shovel. My hand shook violently now. How long have you two been hiding this? Lauren stared at the floor. Tyler winced. Nobody spoke. How long? I yelled. Lauren sobbed harder. Since before the wedding, she whispered. I told him we could never tell you. I told him it would destroy you. I told him it was a mistake. A mistake? I repeated. One mistake? Or more? Her silence hit harder than a confession. Lauren, I said, voice barely holding together. Did anything happen after that night? No, she said instantly. Too instantly. Too rehearsed. Too desperate. Tyler cleared his throat awkwardly. Just that one night, he said. We never, there was nothing after. I stared at him. Did she tell you to lie? His face went red. No. Are you lying now? No. It was obvious he was lying. And Lauren knew it. She grabbed her hair, shaking her head. Tyler, stop, she said. Please. Stop what? I asked. Neither answered. The room was so quiet the only sound was Lauren's shaky breathing, and the faint clink of someone nervously putting their fork down. I felt something break in my chest, something I didn't know how to fix. So, I said finally, voice empty, you two made a pact, a secret. You lied to me for years. You built a marriage with me on a foundation you both knew was rotten. Lauren sobbed harder. Tyler stared at the ground, and something inside me, something human, started to dissolve. But something else, something clear, sharp, resolute, took its place. I straightened. My voice steadied. We're done talking here. Lauren looked up in panic. Please, she whispered. Please don't leave. Please don't leave. Please don't go. Please just talk to me. Not here, I said. Not in front of them. But we are going to talk. Tyler finally looked up. Man, don't, I said. Don't you ever speak to me again. He swallowed. Hard. And for once, even he had nothing to say. I turned toward the door. My mother whispered my name softly, like she didn't know who I was anymore. My dad looked broken, older, defeated. My cousins didn't move. Nobody breathed. And my wife reached out for me with shaking hands like I was her lifeline. Please, she whispered. Please don't walk away. But I already had. When I walked out of that room, the air outside felt sharp enough to cut skin, but it still wasn't as cold as what was happening inside me. My footsteps were loud against the porch, echoing through the quiet that had followed the implosion of my life. I stopped halfway down the steps, because my knees almost gave out again, and I braced myself on the railing while the reality of everything kept hitting me in waves. My wife kissing my brother, maybe more, hiding it for years, lying every single day of our marriage. My own brother, the person who should have protected me, bragging about a secret like stabbing me in the back was a joke. I heard the door open behind me. Lauren's voice trembled like it was fighting through ice. Please, please don't go. I didn't turn around. I couldn't look at her face again, not after what I'd seen in her eyes inside the house. Fear, guilt, shame, panic, all for getting caught, not for what she'd done. We are not talking here, I said quietly. Go inside. She stepped closer anyway. I'll tell you everything. I'll tell you the whole truth. Just please don't leave me. I turned then because something in me wanted to see her reaction when I said what came next. You lied to me for years, I said. You married me with this secret. You looked me in the eyes at the altar and pretended nothing happened. And all this time, every anniversary, every fight, every moment we shared, you knew something I didn't. She shook her head violently, tears hitting the porch one after another. I swear it meant nothing. I wasn't in love with him. I didn't want him. I don't even like him. I was drunk, he came on to me and I made a mistake. Stop, I said. Stop saying mistake like it makes this easier to swallow. She sobbed harder. It didn't mean anything. I didn't want it. I swear to you, if I could erase that night from history I would. But you didn't. I cut in. You hid it. You chose him over me. That broke her. She collapsed against the porch railing, covering her face, mumbling, I didn't choose him. I chose you, over and over, like she was trying to hypnotize herself into believing it. I didn't respond. I couldn't. She reached for my arm, but I stepped away and her hand hovered uselessly between us. Please, she whispered. Please don't hate me. I breathed in slow, steady, trying to keep myself from exploding. I don't hate you, I said. I don't hate either of you. I wish I did. I wish it was that simple. She blinked through her tears. Then what do you feel? I stared at her for a long moment. Nothing, I said. Absolutely nothing. And that scares me more than anything. She crumbled again, sobbing into her hands. I turned away before she collapsed against me out of habit, because I couldn't afford to catch her, emotionally or physically. Not tonight. Not after what she'd done. Not ever again without the truth being dragged into the light. Behind us, the door opened again and closed softly. Heavy footsteps approached. Tyler. His voice slithered out into the cold air. Man, can we talk? I didn't turn. Come closer, I said. One step. I dare you. His footsteps stopped immediately. I'm sorry, he said. It sounded like he'd rehearsed it in the mirror. I messed up. I shouldn't have let it happen. But it was years ago, bro. Years. I didn't want to ruin your marriage. I didn't want to ruin your life. I turned slowly, and whatever he saw in my eyes made him take a step back without me saying a word. You ruined it the second you touched her, I said. You ruined it the second you kissed her, and you ruined it even more every day you pretended nothing happened. He looked away, shoving his hands in his pockets like a guilty teenager. I didn't know how to tell you. You didn't tell me because you were protecting yourself, I snapped. Not me, not my marriage. Yourself. He didn't deny it. It just happened, he said again. We didn't plan it. I let out a bitter laugh. I know. If you planned it, you would have done a much better job hiding it. His face reddened. You don't get it, man, he muttered. We were drunk. I was lonely. She was upset. It wasn't like we were trying to hurt you. I stepped closer slowly, letting him feel the weight of every inch. Do you know what's worse than the idea of you two kissing? His throat bobbed as he swallowed. What? The idea that if Lauren hadn't freaked out and run away, you would have gone further. He didn't argue. He didn't deny it. That silence was louder than any confession could ever be. Lauren burst into fresh sobs behind me. I didn't want that, she cried. I swear I didn't. It was just the kiss. Just the kiss. Stop, I said again. Stop using the word just. There is no just when you betray someone you claim to love. She sank onto the steps, shaking, covering her face. My parents were inside watching through the window now. My mom crying, my dad pacing, the rest of my relatives whispering like the entire reunion had turned into a twisted soap opera. Tyler finally exhaled shakily. I know you'll never forgive me, he said. I get that. But don't throw away your marriage over something that happened before you two even tied the knot. My jaw tightened so hard I felt something crack. You threw away my marriage, I said. Both of you did, years ago. I just didn't know yet. He stepped back again, eyes darting like he wanted to run. What now? He asked quietly. I turned fully toward him. You and I said. We're done, permanently. I don't ever want you near me again. His lip twitched, but he didn't argue. He knew he'd lost the right to defend himself. Then Lauren whispered, barely audible, what about us? I closed my eyes. The question sliced deeper than the betrayal itself. I don't know, I said honestly. I don't know what we are anymore. We can fix this, she pleaded. Please, we can fix this. I'll do anything. I'll go to counseling. I'll confess everything. I'll give you every password I have, every message, every salverlegidevada. Lauren, I said, stop. Her voice cracked. You're my husband, and you were supposed to protect that, I said. But you protected him instead. She broke into uncontrollable sobs again. Not defensive, not manipulative, just broken. But that didn't change the truth. The damage wasn't new. The betrayal wasn't fresh. The wound had existed for years. I'd just finally discovered it. And nothing hurts more than realizing a wound has been bleeding for so long you stopped noticing the pain. Go inside, I said finally. I need space. She shook her head violently. No, please don't. Babe, I said gently despite everything. I'm asking you, please. She hesitated, then stood up with trembling legs and walked slowly to the door, looking back at me once, just once, with an expression that was equal parts terror and regret. Then she disappeared inside. Tyler lingered a moment longer, hands shoved deep in his pockets, staring at the ground. I wish I could take it back, he said. But I can't. No, I replied. You can't, and that's why I'm done with you. He nodded once, defeated, then turned and walked away into the night. When the door finally shut, and his figure disappeared down the driveway, the silence that settled around me wasn't peaceful. It was the kind of silence you only get when something permanent has shattered and the pieces haven't stopped moving yet. My wife was inside pleading for me. My brother was outside disappearing from my life, and I stood alone on that porch, breathing in the cold night air, trying to decide whether I had anything left to give either of them. I stayed on that porch long after Tyler disappeared into the dark, long after Lauren slipped inside with her shoulders shaking, long after the noise from the reunion faded into an uneasy hush. I don't know how much time passed, but eventually the cold crept in deep enough that my fingers felt stiff, and my breath came out in thin pale clouds that floated away faster than I could think. Part of me wanted to get in the car and drive until the tank bled empty. Part of me wanted to walk back inside and demand answers until my voice gave out. And part of me wanted to pretend none of this was happening and rewind time to just before Tyler opened his stupid mouth. But the truth was sitting in my chest like a stone, heavy and immovable. I couldn't drive away from it, couldn't yell over it, couldn't outrun it. Eventually the porch door creaked open again and my dad stepped out. Not my mom, she would have smothered me with her own panic. My dad wasn't a talker, he was a fixer, a quiet observer, and the look on his face told me he had no idea how to fix this. He stood beside me without saying anything for a minute. "You need a jacket," he finally said. I almost laughed, but it came out broken. "I think the cold's the only thing keeping me upright." He nodded like he understood, even though I don't think he did. "Your mother is crying," he said quietly. "What else is new?" He didn't push back on that. "Lauren's a mess too." "Good," I said. "She should be." He shifted his weight. "And Tyler, well," I didn't let him finish. "If you're about to ask me to talk to him, don't." My dad wasn't the type to pick sides, but even he nodded. "I'm not," he said. "He crossed a line you don't come back from." I swallowed hard. "You think?" "I know." He paused before adding, "But that doesn't make this any easier." I didn't respond. He let out a long breath, the kind that seemed to carry 40 years of parenting inside it. "I don't know what you plan to do," he said, "but whatever you decide, your mother and I will support you." That hit deeper than he knew. My parents were far from perfect, but loyalty was something they actually understood. For a second, I almost broke down, but I held myself together by force. "Thanks," I whispered. He squeezed my shoulder once, then went back inside, leaving me alone again. The temperature must have dropped even lower, because by the time I finally pushed the door open and stepped back into the house, my face stung and my hands were numb. The moment I walked in, every eye in the room shifted to me. Conversations cut off mid-word. Forks stopped moving. People froze like a still frame in a movie. But I wasn't looking at them. I was looking at her. Lauren stood in the living room with her arms wrapped tightly around herself, eyes swollen red, cheeks blotched, mascara smudged along her skin like ink stains. She looked like she'd aged 10 years in the last hour. When she saw me, her breath hitched and her hand covered her mouth like she'd been punched. "Please," she whispered. "Please, can we talk?" My dad gave me a small nod from across the room, silently telling me the same thing. I didn't want to have this conversation here, but if I waited any longer I felt like something inside me would crack in a way I couldn't repair. "Fine," I said, "but not out here." We went into one of the guest rooms down the hall and shut the door. The second the latch clicked, Lauren sank to the edge of the bed like her legs couldn't hold her up anymore. I stayed standing. I didn't want to sit. I didn't want to feel grounded or comfortable. I wanted the discomfort. I wanted the ache. I wanted the reality of what she'd done to sit raw in the air between us. "Tell me everything," I said. She nodded slowly and wiped her cheeks. "It was 3 months before the wedding," she began, voice trembling. "We'd had a fight, a big one. I don't even remember what it was about now, but I left the house, went to a bar with a friend, and I got drunk, really drunk." My jaw clenched. "And then?" "My friend left early," she said. "Tyler showed up. I didn't text him. I didn't call him. He just showed up. He said he saw my car outside." "Convenient," I muttered. She flinched. "He sat next to me, we talked," I cried. "He tried to cheer me up, and then he leaned in and kissed me." My stomach twisted. "Did you kiss him back?" Her silence was enough. After a long beat, she whispered, "Yes, but only for a second." I pulled away immediately. "And the rest?" I asked. "The stuff you don't remember." She squeezed her eyes shut. "I swear to you I don't know if anything else happened. I don't remember getting up. I don't remember leaving the bar. I remember waking up in my own bed, fully clothed, hungover and terrified. Rage burned through me, but I kept my voice controlled. "So you thought it was possible you slept with him?" "Yes," she whispered, "but I prayed it wasn't." I kept telling myself it wasn't. I believed it wasn't. "Believed?" I repeated. "Not new?" Her shoulders caved inward. "I asked him," she admitted. "The next day, I asked him if anything else happened." My heart stopped. "And what did he say?" She wiped her face again. "He told me no. That nothing else happened. That I left right after the kiss." "Did you believe him?" "I wanted to," she whispered. "But, I didn't know." My skin crawled. "So for our entire relationship," I said, "you didn't know if your drunk night with my brother stopped at a kiss?" She whimpered like the words physically hurt. "I thought if I said it out loud it would destroy everything. I told him we could never speak of it again, and we didn't. I buried it. I told myself I would take it to my grave, and you let me marry you, I said, not yelling, just stating a fact that stabbed both of us. She nodded slowly, because I thought if I never did anything like that again, if I loved you harder, if I became the wife you deserved, maybe it didn't have to matter. I stared at her in disbelief. But it did matter, I said. It mattered the moment it happened. It mattered the moment you hit it. It mattered every day you looked me in the eyes and pretended we were clean. She broke down again, collapsing inward. I know. I hate myself for it. I've hated myself for years. I hated every time we were around Tyler. I hated every time you hugged him. I hated the secret so much I couldn't breathe sometimes. I swallowed a lump in my throat. Why didn't you tell me? Because I loved you, she whispered. And I was afraid you wouldn't marry me. The worst part, she was right. I wouldn't have. And that truth twisted something inside me until I felt sick. So you chose to deceive me, I said, instead of risk losing me. She nodded, face buried in her hands. I stood there for a long time staring at the wall, staring at her, staring at the floor, trying to understand how the woman I loved more than anyone could have let me walk into a marriage built on a lie. And the awful part was, I still loved her. Even in this moment, even after everything. Love is cruel like that. Eventually she lifted her head and whispered, what happens now? I didn't answer right away, because I didn't know. Part of me wanted to end it right there, walk out the door, drive away and never look back. Part of me wanted to fight for something even if I didn't know what. And part of me wanted to burn everything down, including myself. I don't trust you, I finally said. Not right now, maybe not ever again. She nodded miserably. I understand. I need space, I said. Real space, time to think. She wiped her face again, desperate. Do you want me to move out? I hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, I said. For now. She broke again, but she didn't argue. She didn't beg, she just nodded like she expected it. Like she'd always known this day was coming. I'll stay with my sister, she whispered. Just tell me when you're ready to talk again. I didn't promise her anything. I didn't owe her promises anymore. We walked out of the room separately, her first then me. The entire family watched silently. Some cried, some glared, some whispered their own theories like parasites feeding on the aftermath. Tyler was gone, of course he was. My mom approached me slowly, tears in her eyes. Sweetheart. Don't, I said gently. Not right now. She nodded and stepped back. Lauren grabbed her things quickly, barely making eye contact with anyone. When she reached the door she looked at me one last time, eyes swollen, face flushed, heartbreak written across her. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't respond, and then she was gone. The house felt empty even with 40 people inside. My father put a hand on my shoulder. Come home with us tonight, he said. I nodded numbly. I didn't want to be alone. I didn't want to think. I didn't want to exist in the ruins of what the last 4 years had been. As I walked down the driveway toward their car, the cold air finally stung enough to make my eyes water. Or maybe it wasn't the cold. I still don't know which parts of my life are salvageable. I don't know what the future looks like. I don't know if I can forgive her. I don't know if I can rebuild myself from this. All I know is that the truth came out, brutal, messy, humiliating. But it came out, and now I finally get to decide how my life continues, not based on secrets, not based on lies, but based on what I can live with. And maybe for the first time in years that's the only thing that feels real. In the days that followed, the shock didn't fade so much as settle into a quiet ache I carried everywhere. People kept telling me time would make it easier, but I don't want easy, I want honest. For the first time in years I'm living in a version of my life that isn't built on someone else's secrets. Maybe things with Lauren end forever, maybe they don't, but whatever happens next, it'll happen on my terms. No lies, no shadows, no masks. Just the truth, even when it hurts.